Hey guys, welcome back to more Entitled People stories. Hope you're all doing awesome today, and let's just get right into it. Petty revenge on a shrieking surly idiot feeding seagulls. I was babysitting and took my young charges to the beach. They were 3 years old and having a great time collecting sticks, rocks, and feathers, playing chase, digging, and having fun. There were very few people nearby, just a couple of young gals, maybe early 20s, snoozing and tanning on a sunny day, sparkly ocean, and all around nice time. They were 100% unbothered by the 2 little kids with me doing their thing. A woman and maybe her daughter of an age similar to the tanning gals came and plopped down on their blanket maybe 15 feet away from the tanning gals, probably 30 feet from us. The older woman pulls out a bag of something, bread, crackers, and starts chucking them into the sand between her and the 2 gals. Immediately, a flurry of dirty, squawking, fighting gulls descend for the snacks, swooping over the 2 gals, waking them up. They are startled and annoyed by the low-circling, landing, cracker-snatching birds that are blowing sand on them with their flapping wings just inches away. I hear one of the gals ask the woman to please not feed the birds because they are disturbing them. The woman starts shrieking that she can do what she wants, blah blah. Never mind that she could have done her Snow White convenes with nature scene somewhere else on the wide-open beach if she'd considerately sat some distance from other people, but she didn't. I was thinking how annoying she was as she went on and on at the 2 gals, but suddenly my young charges did what many 3-year-olds love to do at the beach. They got up and ran straight at the birds, who all started flapping and flying in all directions to escape, giving the bird lady a taste of the nastiness the gals had just experienced. If they landed nearby again, the kids turned and ran that way. Seagulls everywhere, bird mayhem. The bird lady was enraged and started yelling at the kids to leave the birds alone. I yelled at her that they are just little kids, and they can do what they want. The kids had stopped when she started yelling, but I told them to run and chase the birds if they wanted, so they did. The younger woman looked like she wanted to dig a hole and climb in. The obnoxious woman packed up her crackers and blanket and they left. The sun continued to shine, the water sparkled, and we kept on enjoying our lovely day. Payback is a bitch for the worst manager of my life. I work in the financial services industry. My manager, we'll call her Linda, is the epitome of the Peter Principle. For those who aren't familiar, it's basically when you are promoted to a level beyond your skill set. Linda was constantly missing work, leaving me in charge as the only supervisory delegate with the proper licensing to manage in her absence. Around Christmas, she decided to take the 2 weeks prior and up to Christmas, and I was to take the week after once she returned. She called me on my first day of vacation and said she was canceling all vacation for the remainder of the year. It turned into a shouting match and she eventually screamed at me to take my goddamn vacation and hung up on me. About 6 months later, I was going for a promotion for a job I was well qualified for. I killed it in the interviews and gave a brilliant presentation. I knew the other 2 candidates and I was clearly the top runner. She was on the hiring panel, even though I would no longer be her direct report. She blocked me from getting the job. Fast forward several years, and I am now in a new position in the same company. My new manager reached out to me and asked if I knew Linda. I said, yeah, why? He explained that she was applying for my same role and would be on my team. I told him she was the worst team player I had ever had, and I believed she was only doing it to ensure she stayed around long enough for all of her company's stock grants to vest. I assumed correctly that she was being managed out and was looking for a place to land. She didn't get the job. She ended up leaving the company and likely left between $300 to $500K USD on the table as unvested stock. Making my neighbor destroy our hedge and beat up his car. So in my neighborhood, the houses are built sort of like a sandwich. So there is my house, my driveway, a shared hedge/fence, my neighbor's driveway, and then his house. I hope that is clear. My neighbor has 2 kids, each of whom have their own car. So they have 4 cars and my family has 2. There is no street parking. Our driveways lead to detached garages. His kid has the bad habit of parking in my driveway when I'm not home. He can park between our houses and just walk to his side entrance. I am sort of done asking him not to do this, but I'm not calling bylaw enforcement or towing him. I didn't want grief in the neighborhood. Yesterday he did it again, so I parked behind him and went for a bike ride. We are enjoying a beautiful Indian summer. When I got back, I noticed that the hedge was torn up. It was kind of hard to miss. I guess what happened is after he got home, everyone else left. I have no idea why he didn't call a cab or an Uber. What he did instead is drive over the hedge between our driveways. These aren't little raspberry brambles. These are 30-year-old hedges. Anyway, his dad is sitting there looking at the hedge. He asks me if I know what happened. I said, come over for a beer and we can check my surveillance. So now the kid is choked because he has to pay to replace the hedge and his car is all scratched up. I guess he had been warned he would be fired if he was late for work again. But the consequences were completely unintended. I was planning on moving the car to let them out when I got home. He could have called an Uber. Hell, he could have called in sick. My mom held my new baby before I did. This happened in the mid-90s, but I just saw a TikTok about asking the new mom if it's okay to hold the new baby, and it reminded me of this. I was 10 days past my due date with our first baby when my water finally broke. We went to the hospital, and 24 hours later, I was still nowhere ready to deliver. My OB talked to us about a C-section. We agreed. It was around 10 p.m. and not an emergency, so my husband called his parents and my mom, and they came to the hospital. A couple of hours later, and we have a beautiful, healthy baby girl. What they don't tell you about the C-section is that it takes no time to get the baby out, and forever to sew you back up. I was shown my baby. My arms are laid out with IVs and such. There was no way for me to hold her. Then she was taken to the nursery, and my husband went with her. What felt like hours was probably more like 40 minutes. I was taken to the recovery room. My husband is there holding the baby with his parents and my mom. He brings her to me and I hold her, and it's perfect. I ask my mom if she would like to hold her first grandchild, and she says laughingly, "Oh, I already did." I was still so tired and dopey it didn't really register. If this had been the end of it, it probably would be a non-issue. I blame the nurse who offered my new baby to my mom, but for the rest of her life, she passed away 2 years ago. She'd bring it up all the time. She would continually refer to our daughter as her girl, even when she was an adult living on her own. When I would remind her that she was in fact my daughter, but she was indeed her own person, she would always say, "Nope, she's mine. I held her first." It always has made me crazy that she not only held her first, but constantly rubbed it in my face. When we had our second and third C-sections for all three, I made sure to tell the nurses. They were appalled and assured me that wouldn't happen. My husband and I were alone in recovery, just us and the new baby for those births. My mom was pissy about it each time, and then would remind me that she held my oldest before I did. Am I the a-hole for pressing charges? So a lady hit me in a parking lot and started to drive off. I honked at her and followed her for 10 seconds to a stop sign in the parking lot. She rolled down her window and asked, "What do you want?" I told her she hit me, and she did not believe me, and I pointed out the damage on my car and hers. Her paint was on my car and everything. She agreed to pull over, and we pulled off to a clear part of the parking lot. She got out of her car saying, "I'm just a little girl," and started off apologizing, saying she did not realize that she hit anything. This is hard to believe because both cars shook violently when the hit happened. She was acting very odd and was extremely adamant about the police not being involved. She seemed to be under the influence of something, but I could not prove anything. I apologized for yelling at her at first, but she was trying to leave, so I was angry. I then just asked to get her information so that we can let the insurance companies hash it out. After getting my stuff out of my car, I was concerned about her driving, because I think she has been drinking. But when I turn around, there is a gentleman standing there with her, which caused me to be on guard. This turns out to be her husband, and he takes control over the situation. He also does not want the police involved. He starts by trying to give me the insurance information, while she gets in the passenger seat and she buckles her seatbelt. I tell him I want to get the license plate first, and while I kneel down to get the picture, I inform him that I will need to involve the police. I do not give him a reason at the time, but I wanted to involve them because I think she has been drinking, and I would feel terrible if a worse accident happens after this and I didn't call the police. However, after I said I wanted to involve the police, I hear him close up the insurance information, walk around me to the driver's seat of the car, and they proceed to reverse and then drive off. I call the police, give them the license plate, and tell them everything, including the video of the accident. They track her down and talk with her about the night in question. She says she was scared and she was fighting with her husband that night, so her husband just wanted to get her out of the situation. She told the police she was very sorry for leaving the scene, and she is willing to give all her information to the insurance companies to get the car fixed, and if they will not do it, then she will cover the repairs. I chose to keep the charges in place, mainly because everyone's actions have consequences, and simply saying sorry or being a little girl does not make you exempt from those consequences. She is 24 years old and was driving while under the influence of something. I personally think this is a terrible choice and endangers others. If I let her off the hook, I feel like that's me telling her that what she did was okay. Repair costs, $2,500 to $2,600. I think she kinda got the outcome she was hoping for. It was either running and getting charged with the hit and run, or staying and probably getting charged with the DUI. So she definitely got off the hook here. It sounds like it could have been a lot worse for her. Fat bully. I used to work in the business office for a huge medical clinic. There was one girl who was the manager's secretary. She was really petite, very pretty, and a little Southern belle. She was the darling of the office, but she was a C-word bully. She made fun of everyone who was overweight to their faces, in front of everyone. I had just had my daughter and she was relentless when I went to McDonald's for lunch one day. "You should have gotten a salad for crying out loud, piggy." Because she was the prima donna in the office, and the head of HR was her mom's BFF, nothing ever happened to her. Fast forward years later, I took my nephew to a birthday party this weekend. She was there with her 3 kids. Turns out that 5 marriages and 3 kids have not been good to her. She is pushing 300 pounds on a 5'3" frame. She looks hit. Those good looks up and left a decade or 2 ago. She saw me and her jaw dropped. She said in the fakest voice and smile she could muster, "You look so pretty. I had no idea you were that pretty. You were so tiny." I just smiled and said, "Yeah, I know," and walked away. I got immense satisfaction watching this bully waddling around in the heat. Even her nose got fat. Not saying anything else to her the whole day was really making her uncomfortable. Alright guys, that is it for today. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to drop a like, I'd really appreciate it, and even more so if you subscribe as well. So have an awesome day and until next time.